All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about USDJPY and then the British pound versus the yen, which is GBPJPY. Lot to say. So in this video, make sure that you stick around until the end because I'm going to give you my full analysis on these two pairs. And there were some really insane moves this past week, and we're going to talk about that right now. So if we go over to the news, so this is just Forex Factory, just looking at the calendar, the news from this past week, there were a lot of really interesting events that really moved the market. So if we just go over to filter, and since we're looking at UJ or USDJPY, we only want to make sure that United States and Japan is checked. And then we're also looking at the British pound versus the yen. So all these basically like other ones can go just because it's a little distracting. So apply filter and here we go. So we can see that there were a lot of really big moves on some of these, especially the US dollar this past Thursday. Let's go back. Wednesday, there was a really big move or basically big news just pretty much all throughout the week. So the thing that I focus on here when I'm looking at the news for the week, and I typically look at the news probably every single day, or at least most days when I'm looking to trade one of these different things. So there was some news here on Friday as well. So this is just a really good practice to just kind of incorporate into your trading plan, just so that way you're not caught off guard. Even if you trade the regular stock market like I do with options, I still look at this because it could save you a lot of money. I wish I would have known about this two and a half years ago when I started trading, because it definitely would have helped me. So basically, a lot of big moves this past week, and this definitely moved the market. So let's go ahead and look at that. All right, so let's go ahead and start with USDJPY. In this, so last week, let's go back a little bit. So when I started charting this, the price was somewhere around here. Actually, it was a little bit, this is Thursday, I went too far. Okay, so somewhere around here, and basically the market was a little bit choppy. So since there were a lot of big moves this past week, as you can see, it did this down thing and then it came back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove some of these lines so that way it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit easier for us to start doing our analysis. So before I do that, well, actually, let me clear some of these lines, just basically some of the ones that I think are kind of irrelevant at this point. I'm going to remove that. I'm definitely going to keep this because it seems like it's a really good support and resistance level. This is fine. I'll probably add some down here. And then, let's see, it keeps not going to that, but we'll probably remove this as well. We'll keep these higher levels right there, but before we do anything else, let's go ahead and go to the weekly. So on the chart, all I'm gonna do is type in 1 and then W, and then I could go to the weekly, right click, and then reset chart. So basically what I wanna do is just kind of see, let me remove that as well, and this arrow. But anyway, but what I want to see is pretty much how price is trending. I mean, clearly, if we go back a few years, price is essentially in an uptrend. And what we want to do is we want to see if we can catch some moves as it's making its way up. Now, one of the biggest things to notice here is basically on the weekly chart, we notice that there is a really big resistance right here at this level, and then there's also a really big resistance at this level, but in the past. So this was, let me move this down. So this was October 22, and we reached this level again November of 23, so roughly a year later. And when it got to this point around 151, it came up, went down, came up and went down. Now, back in November of 23, it didn't move down as much as it did in October of 22, but it still went down once it tapped into this level. And one thing we need to be focused on is the fact that price, let me escape really quick and zoom in. So if we look at, let me remove that. If we look at these candles right here, these two weekly candles formed a resistance. And even though it's not in the zone up here, it's really, really close. So it means that there is a possibility for when price gets up here, it could reverse just like it did in the past. And if you've been looking at any market at any period of time, you will probably notice some different patterns that start to form over time. And that's basically what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking to see what has happened in the past and what can potentially happen in the future in order for me to be able to capitalize on this price action. So the fact that price right here has formed a resistance and this past week closed bearish, there is a possibility that price could continue to go down. Now, where it can go, we obviously do not know. And there is also a possibility for price to keep pushing up to kind of come into this 151-ish level and reject just like it did before. So I want to see a little bit more data. So let's go ahead and look at the daily. Alrighty. So let me squeeze this in a little bit more. So basically, when I look at this, I basically see a consolidation. So this whole area right here is basically in a consolidation to me. And depending on your trading style, you may see something a little bit different, but basically price has been bouncing between 157.91 and kind of this 149-ish kind of area. You can see there are some wicks that formed right here, basically rejections to the downside, which is cool, but basically price isn't really doing anything or going anywhere. So this is really helpful information. So now I like to go down to H4. And now it is really, really clear in H4 that price is in a consolidation. So the thing about consolidations is there are moves that can be caught. And I've done this before, but I really don't like to trade all that much when price is stuck in a consolidation, because basically your money can get just taken by the markets because of the erratic movements. So even though there are some moves that can be caught within here, and we're going to talk about that in a second, I prefer to wait until price makes a clean break above this 157.81 level. And I'm just going to drag my rectangle over to here because, as you can see in the past, or just a few weeks ago from this point, that price failed to go any higher. So it went up to here at 158.87. And then it rejected. It tried to do the same thing here and here. So I don't want to crowd up my chart with a whole bunch of markers, but basically just so you can kind of get the picture. So right there is what I'm talking about. Right here is what I'm talking about, and right here. So when it comes to this, I would prefer to wait and see for a higher time frame candle to close above this level, really above this box here, in order for me to feel really comfortable with taking a buy in this particular market. Same with sells. Like I said, however, you can still catch intraday moves and still make a profit from this particular market. So let me clear some of these things from before, just because I want to keep my charts as clear as possible. All right, so and actually this box I'm going to make a little bit lighter. So I got it opaque 55 right now, but I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter just so that way it's a little bit easier for me to see the lines and things that I've drawn in the past. All right, cool. So I like what I see on H4 so far. I do have this level here. I probably will get rid of that, although you can see clearly price was rejecting that kind of level. We're gonna get a little bit more precise when we go to the lower time frames. So I like the way this looks. So let me go to H3. Pretty much the same thing as we saw on H4, but once again, every level gives you more detail. So these are still looking good. Actually, this down here, do I want to move that? Actually, I want to keep it there. So what I was looking at just a second ago was basically this kind of zone right here, mainly because I noticed that, let me get rid of that, because I noticed that price at some point in time. So this past week, it came here and formed a support, just like it did right here, and this wick out right here, or this rejection right here. So this is a key level right here, this 149,720. And I noticed that it came down and broke out of this range, but then it broke back into the range. So that tells me that this, once again, is a really strong level. Price does not want to go down, because typically if this was in a live market and I would have saw this, I probably would have taken a short, because I would have been waiting for that candle closure outside of that range. So let's go ahead and go down to H2 and see how that looks. I'm going to pinch this so that way we could have this whole kind of area inside of view. So this is what I want to do. So now on H2, now that I got more detail, I'm going to move this support level down to 149,630-ish zone. And keep in mind that all of these price levels are really zones. And I'm going to adjust my box that way as well, mainly because we have this support forming. So right here, and then we also have it right here as well. This kind of came into the zone, but it did wick out and then continue up. This was a clear rejection of the zone, so it's still looking like a really strong zone. And then if we look over here on this side right here, we can see that price, this level kind of acted as a resistance. So I'm just going to drag this out a little bit more. So this level also acted as a resistance just for a little bit, because this candle right here rejected, came down, but then it shot up. So this is still looking like a really strong zone right here. I'm just going to extend my box out just a little bit more. Alrighty. So do I want to move this? Yeah, so I just moved this up just a little bit, just because I'm looking here. This is still rejection level, rejection, and rejection right here. So once again, this candle closed outside of the zone, but then the next candle closed back in the zone. And we're still on the H2 time frame, so it's still a bit high. But you basically just want to do multi-time frame analysis just by starting high and then going low. And typically when I'm looking for entries, it's typically on a lower time frame like the H1 or any of these lower time frames right here. These higher time frames are typically the time frames that I'm using to do analysis, which we are obviously doing right now. So at H1, this is still looking good to me. Oh yeah, this looks really good. All right. So pretty much just to make sure that this all looks good to me, I'm pretty much done with this box area, mainly because I still believe that this is a strong support. And let me get rid of the box because it is a little bit hard to see the other stuff that's happening. But let's zoom in. So I'm keeping this line right here because as we can see, there is a strong, it seems like a strong support level right here. Then also we got this zone, this 150-ish zone where price wicked out 3 times roughly. And then we got this level also acting as a resistance level right here because price came down, came up to retest this level. You can see it's a support here, and then it rejected the level. And then some other stuff happened, but we'll get to that in a second. But then if we look at this level again, we have a breakout, came all the way up here, and then now once again is acting as a strong support level. So I like that. I'm just gonna make my box just a little bit skinnier, just so that way it's easier for me to do my analysis. And I'm also moving it. So as you can see in this area, let me zoom in a little bit. So with these candles right here, you can see all these rejections. So price is clearly not trying to go down because it rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So a good trade idea that I'm thinking about right now, since this is where price ended on Friday, is right here. If price breaks out of this is a little consolidation to me. So this is a consolidation zone. Actually, I'm going to change my box to 55 because I do want those levels to be a little bit darker. So, but anyway, But this right here, if price could give me a nice close on like the hour, the 45 or the 30, not really the 15, but depending on volume, sometimes I do look at the 15 because you can get some really large candles on the 15-minute chart. And if you don't enter, you may miss the move. So that's why I use all of these time frames. Like you literally have to just click back and forth between the different time frames in order to get whatever you're looking for. So what I would be looking for is if price closed up above here and it has to be a close. And once it closes, what I would be looking for is for price to correct this move because this is a solid candle and this is a nice clean range. And if price was to close up above here, then I believe that there's a high probability for price to come at least back up into this zone right here. And then that could be a really nice move. So hypothetically, it wouldn't be right here at this level. More than likely it would be somewhere in here where the candle would stop. I would probably set my stop loss maybe like that. Actually, it's looking a little big. So it's almost a 1 to 2. So that's still really nice. I mean, we don't know where the candle could land, but basically like this could be a really safe stop loss, but you could also do it like right there as well. At least that's what I would be looking at. And it depends on your risk tolerance, all of that. So obviously use risk management, do whatever you do. But this is just kind of what I'm looking at as a trade idea for this upcoming week. All right, cool. Actually, let me zoom out really quick. Okay, yeah, that's looking good to me as a trade idea for this upcoming week. Go like this. Okay, keep in mind we're on the 1 hour chart right here. So one thing I wanted to look at with this was this line right here, just to make sure it still makes sense to have it in the spot. And now that I'm looking at it, there's rejection here, rejection all throughout here. It still makes sense to me to have it in the spot. And then also I'm looking at this as well. And I know I talked about it before and I did adjust it. And it still makes sense to me to have it in this level. So pretty much my analysis, at least for the upside, is pretty much done. I'm going to remove my alert to, actually I'm going to move it to right here because I want to know when price breaks out of this zone. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, cool. So that's my idea for the upside. So I'm just going to put a little arrow right here for myself. And then if price goes to the downside, now it may be tempting to trade once price comes down, like say it closes outside of this box and take a trade down here. This to me is risky just because this whole area right here is a big range and I don't want to get caught up in that. That's just not part of my trading plan or the way that I trade. But if somebody wanted to do that, that's definitely a possibility. Just like up here, waiting for a closed candle outside of this level or however you trade, this could be a really good idea. Targeting here as the first TP, and then this maybe as the second TP or a take profit level. And then right here, what I would do if I was looking to take a trade from this 150 level, what I would do is I would target this area right here as TP1, mainly because you have all this consolidation. And let's go ahead and draw a little line through this area that I'm seeing. So it would be like this. So let me zoom in because this is definitely hard to see and I don't have my glasses. So, okay, great. So basically, this kind of level here, this formed a support right here. This broke through, then this formed a resistance right here. So this level or this zone would be like TP1 for me, and then TP2 would be right here if I wanted to take a trade when price breaks out of this level. But for me, I'd like to play it a little bit more safe when it comes to trading. That could be like a really good scalp area. If you are a scalper, for sure, that could be really nice. That could be a really nice trade right there. But for me, I would be more so interested in taking a trade, a short trade below here. And then even that, you got to be a little bit careful because the fact that price right here, it wicked out of this area. Like this is a big rejection right here. So that's like what, 30 pips or something like that. So for price to reject out of this level, this is a big rejection level in this one spot. So actually, let me get rid of that line. And then if we look left, we could also see that it also rejected from this level, and it rejected again. So I'm gonna draw the line just so that way it's a little bit clear. All right, so what I'm seeing, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, so what I'm seeing right here is this is a lot of consolidation. So this is basically super messy, and it's not something that I would even be looking for a trade in, especially with all of these different wicks here. That just looks like a mess. But basically, this is kind of a strong level because we did see price reject this a bunch of times, especially right here in this area where we got three really long wicks, and then we got some shorter wicks, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a bunch over here. And then it acted as a resistance level right here because price went down to here. And then over here, price formed a support, and then it pushed up, and then it just took off. Man, this had to be news. Yeah, 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time is where I'm located, so that had to be news. That just took off. So a nice trade, if you could catch it and not get slipped by your broker, would have been like once price broke above these highs right here. As far as stop loss, I don't know. That'll be a little bit tricky, but I would have to dig down into a lower time frame or something like that. But that could have been a nice trade. But anyway, it was a very, very messy, so I probably wouldn't even have caught that. But we see a nice rejection right here shooting up. So once again, if we look, closer to present day at this point in time, we have a similar rejection right here, and then it shot all the way up, which is why I was saying that I would prefer a short trade down here, but this would be like my TP zone, and probably wouldn't last that long unless there was a lot of volume and some kind of news catalyst that could just really push the market further down. So that's one thing about news is that if there's typically there's a lot of consolidation or basically markets just zigzagging back and forth. So this in my head is consolidation, just going back and forth, not really going anywhere. So this is typically the type of price action that you'll see right before news because people are waiting to see what the report or whatever it is going to happen. And when they do, when the news actually does hit or the report actually comes out, then that's when you see it fly, typically in either an upside or downside, just depends on what's happening. So if there was some kind of news catalyst and with a lot of volume, that could easily push through this, and just not be a problem. But you just never know. So like I said, since the overall market is up, I'm mostly looking for buys. And that's typically how I do my bias. I typically don't like to change my bias midway just because in my experience, it has not turned out well for me. So if I'm looking for buys, I'm only looking for buys. If I'm looking for sells, I'm only looking for sells. However, I do like to chart both sides because, like I said, a news catalyst or something like that could happen and it could push the market significantly in one way or another typically. So that's pretty much my trade analysis for USDJPY. So let's go over to GJ. All right, so all right, let me reset the chart, and we're going to start on a higher time frame. So last week, actually zoom in a little bit. All right, so looking at the weekly chart, this week did close bearish. So what that means is it formed a resistance right here, and the next major support level is here, but then there's also one right here. So just looking at this, if price breaks this low, then it has a possibility of coming here. If it continues to break, then it could possibly come all the way down here. And on the upside, if we have to go way back, way back in the past to see what price did when it was at these levels. So on the upside, we have this level of about 191. And I drew this line last time, so you can actually on this channel go to the prior week and look at the analysis when I first did this. And I drew this mainly because there's a lot of consolidation here. So when it comes to consolidation zones, I like to draw boxes. So this is a really big box because it is on the weekly time frame, but basically price was trading between these two ranges. I actually moved that a little bit between these two ranges, and it's a really big range. So price in present day or close to present day is really close to this. So it could continue to push up to about here, and it could reject, or it can continue to push up. We just have no idea. But basically, once again, we want to plan for both sides. We want to have a plan for if price goes up, have a plan for if price goes down and breaks market structure. And once again, volume, a lot of volume, usually a news catalyst or something like that, has the potential to have a lot of volume in that particular time and push through any level it wants to. So volume is going to be key when it comes to trading. So, okay, so this is how the weekly looks. It formed this resistance. I'm actually going to delete that box that I had before. Basically just delete these other ones and just kind of do some somewhat fresh analysis. Looking at the weekly, I like this because this was a resistance level. Price is now above resistance. So even more confirmation for buys on a weekly, at least looking at the bigger picture. We're going to break it down and see if that's still true. So, okay, so right here, I'm actually going to move this box up a little bit higher, mainly because we got this support level right here. So we got the support here, and then we also have, okay, I just made it a little slimmer. That is totally cool. Sometimes I like to have these closer to the body, these levels. Sometimes I like to have them closer to the wicks. It all just depends on what I see in the market. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever you prefer. So let's scoot this over. You can see all this rejection here, big rejection, all this rejection here. So on the weekly, it's a higher time frame. So it's definitely going to be a lot more confirmation than these smaller time frames. However, we still got to break it down on lower time frames. And as you can see, I have these arrows here basically signifying that I only want to sell when it's below this level. I just noticed something off to the left. So I noticed these rejections. This is probably something that I noticed before, but I noticed these rejections here, and then price kind of stopped here. So this is a nice zone, weekly zone, and we're gonna go down to lower time frames and make it a little bit skinnier, just so that way we can be a bit more precise with our analysis. So let's go down to the daily and right click, reset chart view, just because I wanna make it clean. And this right here is a really, really strong support level. So I'm gonna move this down to here for the same reason I talked about on the weekly. There is a nice support that was formed here. We also have all of these rejections here. And even though this candle right here, this candle closed bearish below the zone, the next candle closed right back up. So this is a really strong rejection level. Go up there, go up there. Oh, and this is also significant because although it formed this support, and it broke above the previous high, and it met it first with this right here, came back to retest this level, which is why I still have this level here, and then it broke up above, so it formed a new high. So this level is very significant, which is why I'm not really interested in taking sells unless it's below here, and then not really interested in taking sells unless it's below this level, because this is a strong resistance / support level. So yes. All right, so let's go down to H4, zoom in, just so we can get the full picture. Okay, let me do that. I just gotta squeeze it in because the way TradingView works is that it doesn't allow you to do the zoom when you use this feature right here, which is full screen mode, and that kind of sucks because that's when I need it the most. So you gotta hit escape and then just kind of pinch each of these axes. So this is the y-axis, and then this is the x-axis. So if you don't know by now, I'm an engineer by degree, so I really like all of these things. So anyway, so now that I'm looking at it on the 4-hour chart, I'm just trying to look at it from a higher level just to make sure that it still makes sense to me. I'll be constantly doing this, so let me zoom in a bit. I do see like these rejection levels. I still like them here, and at this point it's hard to see candles. We're going to zoom in, so don't worry. I'm just looking just to make sure that these levels just kind of make sense. I'm just basically trying to find the line of best fit when it comes to these levels. And you have to start high and then go low in order to be able to get precise with your trading. And this is actually really fun for me, so which is why I like doing these videos. And you guys seem to get a lot of value from it, so I'll keep doing it as long as it's valuable. Alrighty, so this is looking good to me. I'm seeing all these rejections here. We got a candle that came up and then came right back down. This is a nice resistance level. Let me see if I can make this line a little bit thinner and still have the analysis that I'm looking for. So right here, let me zoom in a little bit. All right. So we still got rejection. Okay, so we got a little support right here. There's a little bit of rejection here. This still looks fine to me because even, okay, yeah, so we're on the 4-hour chart. So we're going to be able to get more precise, more like when we go down to the H1 level. And then I have this level up here marked off because it is the highest point that price has made. And definitely we'll be looking for buys above here for sure. All right. All right, this still looks good to me, so let me zoom out once again. So it's a lot of zooming in and out and looking at the candles. As you can see, these levels still look great down here. We looked at these on higher time frames. Let me get rid of that. I'm trying to keep my charts clean. We had this huge rejection right there, so this is still looking good to me. All right, so now let's go and get in a little bit more detail by going to H3. Although it typically looks the same as H4, but sometimes on occasion there's some more information that maybe that wasn't so obvious to me on H4 that I do catch on H3, but typically it looks exactly the same as H4. So, and I'm looking and I don't see anything new. So I guess the only thing is this level right here, and I see that on H3, this right here, this level, and let's zoom in because I don't have my glasses and I can't see. So this right here formed a nice resistance, and when price came up to this level, it sold off and came all the way down here, which is a really big move. So that is something that I saw. And then let me scoot on over. This area still looks good. And typically when I'm doing these levels, I prioritize the most recent price action. So let's see what happens if I move this above here. Because this formed a nice resistance. We still got rejection, and price, it consolidated a bit, but then it still went down to this level just like before. Okay, yeah, this is looking a lot better to me. So we have a resistance level right at this level, clean break above, hovering. This candle kind of stopped in the zone, but then it came down. And here is a support level right here. So one of the big keys when it comes to doing this sort of top-down analysis is always looking left and then working your way back to the right. So yeah, this was a nice entry candle right here at 7 a.m. Central Time, USA, so New York. That was a nice entry, and then it went all the way up here to this level that we're kind of looking at. Right here, there was a support formed. So I will mark this off. Actually, I like this support because there were 3 touches on here. So let's see how it looks on H2. Okay, so just to clean it up a little bit on H2, and we're going to clean it up again on H1. But basically, I like these touches here. So this could be a significant level price could potentially come back to this level or to this kind of zone and then continue up here. It could, we don't know. Let's see, I'm going to move my alert to up here. And then actually I'm going to set another alert right here because I do want to know if price comes back into this zone. I do want to set another alert right here because this is looking like a nice support level. And I say that because if we scoot in a little bit and we look left, we can see that we got some rejections from that level here, rejection once again from that level. There's some consolidation here, so that's a little bit messy. But we can see right here, this is really clean, rejection, rejection, and then it came up to this level right here, this 189.999. So that is why I wanted to mark that off. And then let's zoom out again so we can look at our other levels. Still looking good, still looking good. Okay, cool. So let's go down to H1 right here. And this looks really nice. This was like a perfect entry right here. When was this? Okay, this was at the end of the day on Thursday. So as you probably noticed, when I'm looking at these charts and I'm looking at these moves, I'm also mentally taking note of when these moves happen because as someone who is in the United States, I am only looking at New York session and I want to see if these moves, these really nice moves, if these entry candles or potential entry candles are happening when I am trading. So a lot of times when it comes to GJ, UJ, and some other things, there'll be some really nice moves for London session. But when I'm not up at that time, I know some of you in the US are, which is amazing, because it seems to me that the price action in London is a lot more clean than New York session, but sometimes New York has some really amazing moves. So I'm just trying to mentally take note of what is happening in those sessions and when these candles are forming. So say hypothetically, this nice candle here, I mean, it's at the end of the day, but it continued to move during Asian session, which is really nice. I don't know what was happening then because typically Asian session looks choppy like this, as you can see. Like, okay, so that's part New York. So this is all like Asian session. Some of this is Asian session right here. Yeah, it's kind of looking a little messy. So it doesn't always move this cleanly in Asian session, but I still want to keep that marked off. We're on an H1 time frame. And let's just say hypothetically, if I wanted to take a trade going up. So I'm more bullish on GJ as well. So I see a resistance. Let me mark this off. Ooh, actually, I see a nice level right here. So I see a support, this as a support level and a resistance level. Let me stretch it out a little bit. Mainly because we had this candle here. I mean, based on this higher time frame, this probably would have been a missed move, especially because it came right back down, but then it came up. So on the second time up, this could have been a nice entry because it went all the way up here. And then it came back down, tested, came up, broke it, came all the way back down here. So like I said, we look left, we saw the rejections in here. But focusing on this area, we have a nice support over here, and we have a nice rejection right here. So if price was to close cleanly above this level, then this could be a nice range. So when I'm considering things to trade, I'm looking at the range, and this is a really nice range. I want to say this is 97 pips. I may be wrong. I always forget how to count the pips because it also depends on the market as well. So this will be slightly different from gold or something like that. So anyway, but this is a really nice range. So I'm looking at that as well. Let's see. Then we got like a level here. I really don't like to trade too much in between large ranges just because there's a lot of chop in here. And I really don't want to be caught in the chop or the consolidation. So I'm looking for clean moves. So right here, this is relatively clean up here. And even if price came back down to this level and had a nice close like it did right here, this could be a nice move back up to this level as well. So that's pretty much what I would be looking for on GJ. Price could most definitely come back to this level and bounce up. We can see that it had a bounce up here, This, it kind of it acted as a resistance right here. So let's see. So I like this right here. If it comes up here, if it comes down here, I wouldn't want to trade this range. I wouldn't want to short below this because this range is not all that much, at least for me. But based on your trading style, it could be. Let's see. So looking left, like if I was to, actually let me zoom out again, just because I want to make sure I'm seeing everything. Okay, so I would only be interested in buys, but hypothetically, if I was interested in sells, I probably would not sell until price came to below here, and then I would be careful. So let me talk about that in a second. So down here, and then I will be careful because we do have some areas where price has whipped out, and I'm seeing it about here. So I would only short to maybe like right here, unless there was like some volume or some news push or something like that that could push it all the way down here, and then that would be super nice. Yeah, so formed support here, bounced up, formed a rejection here, and bounced up. So that's why I would be careful. So I probably wouldn't even want to sell below here, just because it has the possibility, looking left, of wicking out. So I would probably want to do it right here, to be honest, to be 100% and to be a little bit more cautious. But like I said, depending on your trading plan and you and how you trade, do whatever you want. So, but for me, oops, I deleted the wrong one. But for me, I would definitely want to wait, get rid of that line. So I'm just going to put a note in here, caution. And then I'm going to put this in the center, inside, make this bigger. Okay, cool. So anyway, so that would be essentially what I would be looking for this upcoming week. I really like this move right here, coming from here up to here. And then this did retest. So like I said before, this could be a nice move coming from here to here and possibly even down here. I would not be interested in trading or taking a short in this zone, especially because you have price rejecting this area multiple times. There's like 3 times. I wouldn't want to do that one. And then this area right there. So it's forming a nice support here. But I'm a zone-to-zone trader, and basically this is kind of how I see the market, and with time you'll see the market in a similar way. You'll form your own biases, and you'll be coming up with your own trading plans and ideas. With everything, it takes time.